If you love $9 Monday and $2 Tuesday, you're really going to appreciate our new Throwback Thursday when all daily packages are slashed in half. Yes, you heard right. At both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all Thursday daily packages are now 50% off. This means that a 4% package will be only $12.50. A 5% top-rated play, normally priced at $35, will be only $17.50. And the hottest sales item of the day, get a full day of access from the handicappers of your choice. That's one day of every applicable play they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $39 for only $19.50. The best part is you can come back every Thursday to take advantage of this limited time 50% off spring off.
Welcome into First Pitch. It is opening day week here, just 2 days until opening day. I am Drew Martin and got three panelists, three of the best minds in the sports betting business towards baseball. We got Steve Merrill, Tony Finn, Eric Pauley alongside to get you ready for this upcoming baseball season here, guys. We got a future show scheduled today, a future show scheduled tomorrow, and then it's opening day on Thursday, and we'll be going each and every day right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. So come join us in the live chat box. If you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a line below what you're looking to bet in the futures market for this upcoming MLB season win totals, futures. It is all relevant. So let us know, guys, and please smash that like button if you are liking the content. We got rules changes for this upcoming season going around the horn here, welcoming everybody in. Want to hear your guys' thoughts. We get bigger bases. I guess it's a shorter distance. It's a game of inches here between first, second, and third base. We got no shift. Of course, going to have to have the second baseman, the shortstop on the right side of second base and also in the infield. And we have the pitch timer might be the most important here, guys. Going to have to speed the game up. It does look like it is working in spring training. So with the rules changes here going around the horn, Steve Merrill, guys, check him out, WagerTalk.com. Number one in MLB totals. If you like betting totals, he's your guy. 142 and 107 plus 89% profit over the last two campaigns. Steve, you've been seeing it well on the bases, man. Welcome in. What are you thinking of these rules changes? Are you excited for the baseball season?
Very excited, Drew. In fact, I joined WagerTalk a little less than 3 years ago. This will be the third and a half, because we had a half season there in 2020 after COVID. But yes, since I joined WagerTalk 3 years ago, I've won the most units in MLB totals of anybody. So check out the totals. Sides have been profitable as well. Don't forget about the sides. Looking very forward to the baseball season, because keep in mind, 1 day of baseball is the equivalent to an entire NFL week. This Thursday, opening day, all 30 teams are playing. That's 15 games in 1 day. You get double as many games. You get a hockey and an NBA season combined. I mean, it's just such great value to pick your spots. I believe in quality over quantity. We have 1 to 2, maybe 3 best bets a day. A great time to get on board, WagerTalk.com. Get one of those all sports, all access packages. Get the NBA and the Final Four as well.
Absolutely, Steve. And guys, we got Eric Pauley here. He's joining the roster for this upcoming season. Check him out at sportsmemo.com. He was up 20% profit last year and hitting 56% winners. That might not sound too sexy, guys, but in baseball, remember, it's about plus price, minus price. Obviously, he was hitting some plus prices there with a 4.8% ROI. Also, check out those 5% plays, those high-rated plays. He was 15-4 last year. Check him out, Eric Pauley, sportsmemo.com. Eric, what are your thoughts here on some of these rules changes for the upcoming year? And, hey, opening day right around the corner. What are your thoughts overall, man?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. So my first play, which we'll get into in a little bit, is actually predicated on one of the rule changes. But something that I thought was very unique to watch is when you watch spring training games like I was, you obviously have the pitch clock and the faster pace of play. And then you're watching World Baseball Classic games and kind of reverting back to the old style of baseball. I personally kind of fell in love with the pitch clock and how quickly things were moving and how the spring training games were going. So I think it's a very welcoming kind of change that's going to be happening. And also, there is a little caveat to that, though. When games are coming down to, pennant races are coming down and divisional titles and, of course, the postseason, we might have to have some leeway on those pitch clocks because, like, that Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani moment to end the World Baseball Classic, if that got ruined by a pitch clock, I don't think anybody would be happy. But overall, happy with the changes. Love the World Baseball Classic. That was a great way to get excited for this amazing upcoming MLB season.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think there was a lot of positive change in that. First off, the game gets going a lot faster. But to your point, and I actually saw the last note here that they are going to use some common sense. So maybe, if something happens that's not normal, I guess the pitch clock can be extended in the eyes of the umpire. So we'll see how that goes. It will definitely take some twerking here, some tweaking, if you will, in the beginning of the season. And speaking of twerking and tweaking, we get Tony Finn here. Tijuana Tony, buy some, a fan favorite. Tony, check him out at WagerTalk.com. What's up, man? How you feeling? How was the off season? Are you excited for this stuff? Go ahead.
I'm excited. I'm excited as could be. Can't you tell by the way my voice and my expressions? No, I got a little upset or a little disconcerted when you said that baseball was going to use common sense. So let's we'll move on from that, and we'll talk about the rules changes, just real in a nutshell. Bottom line is that these rule changes, they're meant. Baseball is telling everybody we want to speed up the game, et cetera, et cetera. Traditionalists will say, that's a pile of whatever you want to. You fill in the blank. But that said, chess, baseball is the one sport, that didn't have a time clock. It's the kind of the summer, you lean back, your favorite cold beverage, whatever it might be, and enjoy the chess match. If you're really a baseball traditionalist or a baseball fanatic or a fan, even the casual fan probably don't get into the serious chess moves that go on inside the white lines in the period of time, whatever it takes to play the game out. But this is going to improve. All these rule changes are geared to be more exciting. It's more runs. When you have more runs, you have more hits. It's hard for me to believe that the game's going to speed up that much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I actually think it has sped up with the spring training in terms of time off of the average time of play. But huge shout out to the chat box here. Noah in the house, Joe, Andrew McGinnis, north of the border. Welcome on in. Blue Jays there in the AL. At least we'll see how they do. But guys, going around the horn this year for first pitch. We're going to be going here 1:30, obviously, today. We'll be doing it again on Friday. But the rest of the time, it will take over to 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And we're going to be doing big game breakdown, giving each analyst a game that they want to talk about, see an angle and think it's important for sports bettors to hear about, and a best bet as well. So each panelist has the goods ready to go in the back of the Slack channel. So we'll go around the horn here. Steve, Merrill, I know you had a big game breakdown you wanted to get after, man. So I'll throw it over to you. I think you got a season win total here for the listeners.
Yeah, going to have one at the end of the show as well, a best bet at the end of the show, which is also a season win total. I wanted to talk about the AL West here. There's a few different teams I like, but I want to spotlight talk about the LA Angels. This is a team last year, as talented at times, the best player in baseball, the best player in the world, as we saw in that World Baseball Classic. Shohei Ohtani, not only is a great hitter, but he's as good of a pitcher as well. And he's also got some speed. I mean, just an incredible athlete, incredible talent. Mike Trout's always been considered the best player in baseball the last 5 or 6 years. He's on that same darn team. So you can make an argument over the last 5-6 years, whichever given year you've talked about, they've got the 2 best players in baseball. So that catches your attention, your attention when the team is basically priced to just be 500. And one of the reasons is, of course, because the Angels vastly underachieved last year. But Trout's been injured for several seasons. Ohtani really couldn't carry the team himself. And although it's a big market team in LA and there's talk of Ohtani leaving town after this season, I feel like they're a little bit of an underrated team now. They went just 73-89 last year. Season win total, once again, shop around. These are going to vary by a game or two in some spots, but consensus, you can find a lot of 81.5s out there, which means they just have to be one game above 500 for you to cash this season win total. And I think the Angels get there. There's a lot of upside. I've seen them as high as 50-1 to win the World Series. I mean, I think that's worth maybe a little sprinkle as well. They could definitely win this division. So lots of different ways to play the AL West. And keep in mind, another big change this year, Drew, is that teams are not playing the division-heavy schedule that they have in years past. They're playing everyone for the first time. Every team plays all the National League and American League teams. Now, you still play your division teams more, but it's quite a drop-off. So they won't get the Astros as much, the Mariners as much. The Rangers are another play-on team for me in this division. I think their win total could be worth a look. but they're priced in that same kind of like 500 range. I just think the Angels are a better team. And something else to point out also is close wins and losses when looking at these totals from last year. And I mentioned all the injuries, which played a big part of the LA Angels. And keep in mind, this is a team, I don't want to say they tanked, but they really just lost interest there and had extended losing streaks and still finished 73 and 89. And they were just 18 and 28 in one-run games. That means they lost 28 games by one run. Cut that in half, that could be 14 more wins. I would have gotten them to 87 wins last year, even with tank mode and injuries. So a lot of upside, I think, with the LA Angels in a very interesting and competitive division in the AL West.
Yeah, a team that's underperformed many years now, Steve. I can't remember the last time they hit their season win total towards the over, but that actually might be, a good buy on spot. You talked about their two top players, arguably the two best players in the whole sport on the same team here in Ohtani and Trout. And in your point on the schedule, great point there, Steve, because we've been used to division teams playing 18 to 19 times per season. Now it's going to be, I believe, 12 to 13. So 2 less series there. But at the same time, they don't get to play, the A's as many games. So we'll see how that plays out. Good stuff there, though. Season win total on the Angels from Steve Merrill. We'll get his best bet at the end of the show. Eric Pauley, coming to you next. I think you're going a little bit towards the prop market here, man. What are you looking at for big game breakdown?
Yeah, so I am looking at a prop bet that coincides with one of the rule changes, and that being the shift change that, of course, now in baseball, you must have 2 players on each side of second base bag, aka your traditional third baseman, shortstop, second baseman, first baseman. So there's a player that I'm keying in on to go over his hit total for the season, and that is Corey Seager. And a lot of this has to do with the elimination of the shift. So for starters, Seager was shifted 92.8% of the time he was at bat last season. And the thing about that kind of shift that he was seeing is when you're a lefty hitter, they would throw the shortstop into the right field grass. So any hard hit ground balls or line drives that would be a traditional hit, whether you're playing Little League or softball at the park, were turning into outs for Seager. Now, this kid does not have to worry about that whatsoever. And we're talking about also an ascending player who plays close to 162 games every single season. And of course, he's one of the marquee shortstops in all of baseball. So he's gone over the 146.5 line twice in his career. He finished last year with 145 hits. So adjusting for the shift, I expect there to be more than just a little 2-hit kind of change for Seager. I think that this number is a little bit off considering how he plays and now that there is no shift. So I'm going Corey Seager over 146.5 hits for this regular season.
Finding change, guys, one of, if not the best way to find winners in sports betting, in my opinion. Eric, I love the fact that you're using the change in rules in your advantage in your bet. That is a great way to win in really the sports betting industry overall, in the sport of baseball, because of the longevity. Great bet there, guys, from Eric Pauley. We got Tony Finn up next. Tony, what do you got from for big game breakdown?
Well, we're going to go to futures on, obviously, since it's future show, right? We're going to go to the Phillies, who, and listen, coming into this, into the spring training, after the winter meetings, I liked the Phillies situation a lot, despite the fact that, they're the big bat, or at least the big bat in that lineup was going to be possibly out until the All-Star break. And Bryce Harper, let's be honest, this is an unusual injury for a position player to go under Tommy John surgery, right, guys? And his WAR, listen, he's a streaky guy. So are the Phillies as a whole. But I'm a little bit down on this Phillies team now. I had a few what I would call holes in there as a whole, as a team as a whole. But when Hoskins was injured, that's a big loss. I mean, if you're a fan of WAR and F-WAR and any of those metrics, advanced metrics that I think mean a lot over the course of 162 games, then you're going to see something. I think you're going to see a reduced at runs per game average in this Phillies. I think it's a hole that's tough to fill. I'm going to fill it probably with a platoon at first, maybe a young cast and crew. Despite the fact that, listen, guys, I was excited about this team. They added Trey Turner, right? And nothing against Segura. that this is a good player. I mean, nothing against him; he's a fine player in his own right. But Turner was a game changer. He is a star. I mean, he is just a guy that you can't even outline and describe and give a number of butt slaps he probably deserves on a show like this. But he had a 13.1 F/WAR over the last 2 seasons. A Seguru, 15.2 over the last 6 seasons combined. He's a plus fielder, terrific base runner, strong contributor no matter where he's at in the lineup. I mean, believe it or not, this is a guy that he could hit cleanup if he wanted to. He's not going to go deep many times as the big bats in this Philly lineup, but has 20 home run potential. Now, that said, this is also a team, guys, that kind of snuck in to the playoffs. If you think about it, they had the fewest wins of any NFL playoff team, second fewest wins of any team to qualify for the postseason. This is a World Series qualifier that went 14-17 over the final 31 games of the season. And this is because Milwaukee struggled more during that stretch run than even they did. They won the National League pennant for the first time since 2009. I think first postseason since 2011, which is terrific. I mean, I think Philly having a good team is really good for baseball, especially for their fan base. But they were 34-47 against teams 500 or better during the regular season. That 9-2 postseason run before falling to the Astros, who are a better team, all top to bottom, wasn't a surprise. What they did to get there was somewhat of a surprise. We don't hear a lot about that. And to be honest with you guys, if you look at the futures, okay, this is a situation. It's an unusual situation where for a team that didn't experience a tremendous amount of loss, or at least a World Series participant, experienced heavy losses as the third favorite to win a division. Usually there's going to be that there's going to be that shade. Even if you won the World Series, at least you're going to do is be the second team in your division, right? They're minus 200 right now to return to the playoffs. I am one of those that I'm not going to play under their season win totals. I probably will play under that too, but I'm going to play at a plus 145, which you can get right now at several books. I'm using DraftKings as the sample for this segment, and that is at plus 145 a no to make the postseason. And I could go into the pitching staff, the better bullpen that they've had in a few years, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Harper Hoskins, that being out, Hoskins for the whole entire season, guys, and Bryce until the All-Star break, make a slow start for these Phillies team that they may not. I don't believe they'll make up. Atlanta's better. The Mets are better.
Tony Finn, check them out, WagerTalk.com. They're on the Phillies for the season win total. And speaking of the NL East, going to come to Steve Merrill up next for best bets. But guys, make sure to check out Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Guys, MLB totals 142 and 107 plus 89% profit over the last 3 years. WagerTalk.com. He knows his totals on the bases, knows his sides as well. And Steve, I'll throw it over to you, man. You got a best bet here on the fish. Might be correlated with what Finn was talking about in terms of the Phillies, but I'll throw it over to you. What are you thinking with the Marlins?
So baseball is a fantastic time to make money. It's the longest season of any sport. In fact, it's a combined NBA and NHL season combined. 1 day of baseball is like a full week in the NFL. So you get the picture. There's lots of games. We pick our spots. We make money year after year. Sides and totals. In fact, since I joined Wager Talk 3 years ago, nobody has won more money in MLB totals than I have. So isn't it fitting we get to a free over-under play for a season win? It's a type of total. It's a futures bet. I'm going to give that to you real quickly. Quick reminder, though, if you want to get basketball and baseball on a daily basis, check out one of those all sports, all access passes on my page right now, SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com. Also, free plays posted daily on my page, also at WagerTalk.com. Let's look over the total by the Miami Marlins here in 2023. Lots of different numbers out there. The consensus line right now around 75.5. I think they definitely get over this total. They can be a winning team this season. We have several games to get to 500, which I think they'll get to. So I look for 80 or more wins by the Marlins. I really like over 75.5. Several rule changes this season. And the intent of all these rule changes, really 2 things. First of all, it's to speed up the game, to make it more fan-friendly, a better viewing experience. and to have more scoring. And that goes hand in hand with making it more fan-friendly because people like to see offense. And one rule that's going to really help change this is the bigger bases because, first of all, guys will be safe more often, more guys on base. It's a safety thing as well, shorter base path, less shifting as well. But there's also a rule with the disengagement from the rubber, and a pitcher can only disengage twice during a full plate appearance. And now keep in mind, you have to disengage to make a pickoff move to first, which means if they throw over more than twice, they have to get the guy out the third time or it's a balk. He advances. Bigger bases, less pickoff moves is going to drastically increase stolen bases. So teams that like to run, it's going to have what? The Marlins led the league last year in stolen bases in all of MLB. And I think it's going to help them as much, if not more so than any team. I'm sorry, they're actually second, only to the Texas Rangers, 122. The Rangers at 128. And Marlins were caught stealing 29 times. So they tried to run 151 times last year. They'll run even more this season. They had the league leader in stolen bases as an individual. So it's going to help the Marlins. Also, the balanced schedule this year. You play less division teams. You play everybody, both NL and AL. That'll also help the Marlins because they'll have less games, 10 plus less games against the Braves, Mets, and Phillies, the most loaded top-heavy division in baseball. And then on top of that, another factor that really makes me like the over here, the Marlins were better than their overall record last year. This team played 64 games decided by one run, and they lost 40 of them. Cut that in half, they get to 89 wins on the automatic. They won 69. They would have been 89, just cutting those losses in half. A lot of upside with the Florida Marlins, over 75.5 season wins.
Steve, I got to ask you as a Marlins fan here. I was going to come at you a little bit harder, but I agree with you. I think the Marlins might be up. One thing I want to ask you, do you think they make the playoffs? I mean, 18 games out of the last playoff slot last year. I know they made the big trade, and the pitching's great, but that hitting, man, you touched on it a little bit. Can they score enough to have an outside shot at making the playoffs, in your opinion?
Well, that's one of the reasons I think there's upside, Drew. Their hitting was the problem last year, and I don't think that necessarily got any better. But all those rule changes, what's it going to do? It's going to help offense, even for weaker teams. And the Marlins like to run, second most stolen bases in baseball. I'm not going to say we're going back to Moneyball quite yet because I do think it's still a launch angle league. But I think a team like Florida could be a little bit like the Oakland A's back in the day and find their way and sneak in and be a really underrated team this season.
I like it. Steve Merrill, again, guys, 89% profit over the last 3 years in MLB totals. Check them out, WagerTalk.com. Also, check out SportsMemo.com. All the viewers here from the Sports Memo YouTube page, we welcome you in. Please chime in the chat box. And also check out Eric Pauley over at SportsMemo.com. Up 20% profit last year, 56% winners with that 4.8% ROI. Guys, again, a reminder here, MLB, it's not about the win percentage, even though he had a pretty good one. It's about that ROI, getting it up. He did have that on the bases, 15-4 again on those 5% top rated plays. Eric, good stuff overall. Any final thoughts here? And what do you got for best bets?
Yeah, so I'm going for best bet long shot. Now, this is a client play, as was my Corey Seager play. This is a 0.25 unit to win 10, a 40-1 odds bet. I'm going with Hunter Greene of the Cincinnati Reds to lead the entire major leagues in strikeouts this season. No, it sounds a little bit crazy, but if you break it down, it's really not. Hunter Greene is making the opening day start for Cincinnati, and this is a kid with a ton of pedigree. Last year, his season wasn't that great, but he was also 22 years old. In 24 starts, 125.2 innings, a 4.37 FIP, a 4.44 ERA, and a 1.21 WHIP. But that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about this young player ascending. And what did he do really well? Strike people out. He had a 30.9% strikeout rate. And though he did not qualify for innings pitched to be on the leaderboards, his K through 9 last year was 11.75, which would have ranked 5th in the entire MLB had he qualified. Now you have, again, this kid who he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated back in 2017, a number 2 overall pick. And while the pedigree doesn't always work out, he has shown that the Reds, first of all, have shown they have faith in this kid. And 2, he showed amazing tools and the ability to strike out people as a 22-year-old rookie last year. I think a lot of that was nerves and playing on a bad team. And he should be back this year and playing really good baseball. So looking at some of his pitches, mostly a 3-pitch pitcher, but it's able to have a 38% whiff rate on his slider. And looking at his changeup, that number is down to a 7.9, but I know he's been working on it this offseason. But when it comes to Hunter Greene, you know he's going to be throwing gas, a 28.3% whip rate on the fastball, which, again, you're going against major league hitters. They've seen, 105-mile-per-hour fastballs. Greene's got the velocity, and he's able to sneak it by bats. Looking at the rest of the market, I mean, like Garrett Cole, plus 500, Carlos Rodon's hurt. I think Sandy Alcantara is due for a little bit regression. So the people in front of Greene in terms of odds to lead the MLB in strikeouts, I don't see much value in. And this number's actually come down to the best I saw was plus 3,000. I got this a couple weeks ago at 40-1 odds. I'm sticking with this kid, this flamethrower, coming in to have an amazing sophomore season for the Reds. Give me Hunter Greene to lead the entire MLB in strikeouts this season, plus 4,000.
Like it, Eric, bringing the heat with a little prop bet there. And Eric, just your opinion here, a little follow up. I was reading up on the Reds projected not to have a very good bullpen either, man. So in terms of maybe extra innings, right? He can pile them up that way.
Yeah, so a big knock on Greene, and the reason why he wasn't able to qualify is because he wouldn't get deep into games, a little bit of control issues, so he's getting his pitch count up. Not expecting the Reds to be much better this season, but again, you have guys like Nick Lodolo, so their pitching staff is actually solid. More so, I think that what you said with this bad bullpen and this a full year of experience for a 22-year-old in the MLB is huge, that now Greene will trust his pitches more, have more control of his off-speed and his fastball, keep that pitch count down, those strikeout rates high, and get through a bunch of innings and pitch a lot of innings and strike out a ton of batters this year.
Good stuff from Eric Pauley, sportsmemo.com, 20% profit last year, 4.8% ROI. Guys, those 5% plays, 15-4 run. Check him out. Obviously knows his bases there. And Tony Finn, WagerTalk.com, guys. Check out Tony Finn. Some of his stats he'll tell you about here as he knows the bases. Tony, what do you got for final thoughts, best bets?
We're going to go to a long shot, much like Eric. And I'm going to go even more specific. I'm going to go to player awards. All these new rule changes, really, there's going to be a lot of changes. And if anyone out there is fantasy player, that's probably it, even for someone or even for a group like us who are dug deep into baseball, who appreciate baseball, the numbers and metrics, all these changes, whether it be the shift, the bigger bases. Once again, I don't think we're going to have a Ricky Henderson type of a deal. But we're going to be talking more about stolen bases, the bases shortened. You're going to see young players, I think, that are exciting, and whether it be Witt from Kansas City, et cetera, et cetera. There's kids down. I'm trying to think. I didn't put this in my script for this, but I'm trying to think that there's a kid who plays or a young kid that plays for Arizona. Come on, guys, help me on this. But basically, he had the fastest. It's Corbin Carroll, okay? The highest sprint speed in the majors last season, 30.7 feet per second. I think he's a kid to watch for stolen bases. But let's go to who I like here. And Eric touched on this. It's Seager, and it's a shift. It's the shift rule. Last season, teams positioned their infielders. This is last season, too. I don't even want to go back. And an overshift, 33.6% of all plate appearances. The shift was in effect. It's even more pronounced, really, guys, for left-handed batters. 55% faced a shift. Now, for Seager, this rule it can't help but help. It can't help him. He's not going to hit 300 again, guys. Listen, he hit 33 home runs, right? But he was 40 points below. If you trust StatCast and some of the projections for averages, last year they had him at 283. He ended up hitting 245. He's playing for a pretty good Texas team. Let's be honest, right? They have a lineup that's very capable. Not only is Seager going to favor as a left-handed batter in the shift, guys like Kyle Tucker, Schwarber, all those three guys faced the shift more than 600 of their total plate appearances last season. 90% of their bats. Seager led the majors in ground ball outs into the shift. Hit 245, down from 307 to 220, 306 and 221. And again, StatCast projected him at 283. So that's a pretty good number to be looking at here. He blasted 33 home runs, as I said, and he'll benefit greatly. He's in a lineup that they can't pitch around him, et cetera, et cetera. 33 home runs. Let's say 35 home runs in this lineup. Let's say he hits 285. And Texas makes the playoffs, which I think they will. I think they're the second best team in that division. I think Houston backs up a little bit with some of their injuries. But right now, Seager to win the American League MVP in 2023 is 20 plus 2,000 at DraftKings. That's 20-1 for a guy who I think is in a position to really impress and improve his basically his slash lines because of the rules change. Corey Seager, Texas Rangers American League MVP 2023, plus 2,000.
Tony Finn bringing the heat there to end it, guys. Eric Pauley, Tony Finn, Steve Merrill. I am Drew Martin. We will have Adam Trigger, Brian Leonard, and who is it? Yeah, Adam Trigger, Brian Leonard, and Jimmy Adams on tomorrow, guys. So one more future show here, and then we will have opening day the following day. So check out Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, as well as Tony Finn, Eric Pauley over at SportsMemo.com. So that does it for the first show, guys. Come join us tomorrow for more season win totals, more prop bets, more futures. Please smash that like button. Cash those tickets, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.